First off, I have to tell you that I didn't realize until now what a crutch my PowerPoint slides are. So I'm a little nervous to be just speaking and having you all look at me, so kindly look at the cart services as well, feel free. The messages today have been really powerful, and I was thinking, what is my message then? So we heard messages of hope, and we heard the good doctor talk about the fact that we're not talking enough to one another. So Sophie asked me to speak about mental health in the workplace, so I think my message is a call to action. How many employers are in the room right now? All right, I want you to go back to your plate where you work and think about, do you actually employ persons with disabilities? Persons with disabilities are historically underemployed or not even employed at all. And I think all of us as being human, we all want to provide value to our communities, and working is one of them. So Sophie asked me to speak about mental health, thank goodness, not mental illness, because I'm surely not an expert in that. And when I got thinking about mental health in the workplace, I was thinking, I wonder, how do I define mental health? And as many of us as in the room, that's probably how many definitions of disabilities there are. But the one that I like in particular comes from the Public Health Agency of Canada, and I'll read it to you now. Mental health is the capacity of each and all of us to feel, think, and act in ways that enhance our ability to enjoy life and deal with the challenges that we face. It is a positive sense of emotional and spiritual well-being that respects the importance of culture, equity, social justice, interconnections, and personal dignity. That's very, very powerful bunch of words there. And you'll note that its definition is more than just the absence of mental illness. So, what is mental health at work? The Ontario Workplace Health Coalition has a definition, and they say a mentally healthy workplace is one where employees feel safe, engaged, and productive, and know that their employer is committed to maintaining a psychologically healthy and safe work environment. So for the employers in the room, how do you show your employees that they are safe? The business case for employing persons with mental health disabilities in the workplace, we've heard a lot of stats. We've heard 1 in 3 of us will experience a mental health disability. From the economy's perspective in Canada, that's $50 billion annually. Depression will rank second only to heart disease as the leading cause of disability worldwide by 2020. And mental health disabilities in the workplace cost Canadian companies nearly 14% of their net annual profits and up to $16 billion annually, and that comes from Excellence Canada. There's also a corporate social responsibility business case to employing persons with mental health disabilities. We're faced, though, as employers, and Queen's is no exception, we're mounting pressure to find better ways to reduce employee health and safety risks, but at the same time, we're asked to do more with less. We're asked to be more productive with less resources, both human and otherwise. That in of itself could cause folks to have anxiety alone. Sophie referred to the Human Rights Code. It makes it illegal to discriminate based on someone's mental health disability. And that includes, though, and I want to underscore this, mental health both past and perceived. So that's important to consider that. In all aspects of the work environment and employment relationship. And I use the word relationship on purpose. I really believe that a healthy and productive workplace, that the employer has a relationship with each and every one of their employees. Removing barriers, a word on that, I suppose. When I was trying to think about what to say, my first inclination was talk about the duty to accommodate short of undue hardship. And certainly we do, as employers, rather have that duty, but I wanted today for it to be positive and mental health. And so removing barriers in the first place. So we know that people with mental health disabilities face many, many barriers, attitudinal, you name it. So employers should identify and remove barriers voluntarily instead of waiting for someone to make an accommodation request. And for folks with mental health disabilities, we need to be innovative and flexible and adaptable. It's not simply just removing or putting in a ramp, let's say. Accommodating folks with mental health disabilities might be flexible time, more breaks, that kind of thing. So we need to be very creative. We also, as employers, need to design inclusively. And again, it's beyond the built environment. So we should use the principles of inclusive design when we're creating our policies, our programs, our procedures, our standards, our requirements in our facilities as well. And so the work I do a lot of policy making, and I'm always thinking, am I inadvertently or arbitrarily creating a policy that seems fine on its face, but might inadvertently discriminate against those with disabilities? So we need to be mindful of that. So mental health in the workplace, what does a healthy organization look, feel like? It's an organization that values employee mental, physical, and psychosocial health as fundamental to organizational success. It implements a comprehensive approach that forges strong links between their employees' wellness, key human resource goals, and the performance of the individual and the organization as a whole. If we're dedicated to improving the lives of folks with mental health disabilities and creating better places for them to work, then we need to think about creating a workplace that benefits not just the employees, but their family members as well. And that's a conversation we should have too, is that it does touch us, whether we're the individual or the family member. And it just makes good business sense, and it makes good economic sense as well. Employees then are more committed and engaged when organizations focus on workplace health promotion, anti-stigma initiatives, management training, employee assistance programs, and work-life and workload balance. And I'm reading those words that I wrote, and I'm thinking to myself, do I take advantage of all the workplace opportunities there are at Queen's? I'm always a little bit busy. I'm the kind of person that shakes out her keyboard once in a while because she eats lunch at her desk. And maybe I should be going to the breathing exercises at the Battery Center. So I should walk the talk, I guess. So some successful outcomes then, when we put all those procedures into place, we would then expect higher employee engagement, higher employee productivity. Retention is huge, right? So just hiring people isn't enough. We need to have strategies to retain them and promote them. There's a good use of the employee assistance plan and use of benefits that are provided. We would then expect to see a decrease in absenteeism and presenteeism as well. So presenteeism, I think Mike talked about lack of sleep. We're there, but we're not really there at work. I admit to that sometimes. A decrease in short and long-term disability rates, and a decrease in accident and injury rates as well, and a decrease in grievances and human rights complaints. And at the very last message, I guess, I have a picture here. We should be asking ourselves as managers, supervisors, employers, how easy did I make it for you, my employee, to do great work today? So thank you.
The first line on my job description, it reads, instill hope. The second, promote recovery. And I'm really hoping that today, together, we can do both of these things. And I'm confident that, with everyone in this room, I see a lot of faces, many more faces than I expected to see today. We can do both of those things. Boiled down, my job is to create jobs for people living with mental illness. And to do that, the VOCAC program runs as many small businesses as it possibly can. We'll enter any industry that creates meaningful work. The businesses that we run are profitable, and as was mentioned before, all those profits are reinvested to create more jobs and serve more people. you might ask why? Why does Providence Care support a program like this? And we are facing a serious problem that I want to talk about. And that serious problem is that 90% of Canadians living with severe, persistent mental illness are unemployed. 90%. 9 out of 10 people living with severe, persistent mental illness do not have a job. The barriers that they face to employment include stigma and discrimination. Most people also don't realize that sometimes when people begin work, they can experience clawbacks in their disability support income, or they might lose their health care benefits, or their rent may increase. Compounding this, big problem is that the evidence suggests that, work is actually a cornerstone of recovery. And recovery means, different things to different people. And, for some, it might mean living with a complete absence of symptoms. For others, it might mean living a full life in the community while learning to live with those ongoing symptoms. And I think that we underestimate the power of work. Work is a really powerful force. When we think about work, we think about Monday. Sunday, we start thinking about Monday. I don't want to go to work. I do, personally. I love my job, and I work with 75 people who value work just as much as I do, even more so. When they think about work, they think about the social networks and relationships that they build. They think of, the sense of purpose and self-worth. They think of the schedule and, that it's somewhere to be, somewhere you're needed, somewhere where you can contribute, somewhere where you have value, somewhere where you're accepted, and somewhere where you belong. Let's not forget the most obvious impact of work. It provides you an income and all of those benefits that actually, brings. So everyone in this room, I hope, can take a minute right now and think about, what your life looks like without work, without a job, or the prospect of a job. And, that is unfortunately the reality for 9 out of 10 people living with severe and persistent mental illness. The reality is that people with jobs are healthier, have higher self-esteem, they also have a higher standard of living. So, knowing these two things, we know that, there's a disproportionate unemployment rate for people living with severe persistent mental illness. We know that it's a key cornerstone of recovery. So what do we do to find work for those people? And we at Providence Care decided that we were going to make work. And no, this is not a make work project. This is creating jobs. And the way that we create jobs is that we run and we will enter any business or start any business that will break even, create meaningful employment, and then we can manage with some of our Providence Care resources. So currently we run 4 cafes. We have a catering company. We've got a car wash. And I know that it's spring and a lot of your cars need a wash. We run a landscaping company. We have a print shop. We also have a partnership with a number of community partners, including a company called New York Air Brakes that we do assembly work for brake kits for high-speed trains. We've got a contract with the YMCA to run a cafe and feed their daycare. We've also got a relationship with the Kingston Frontenac Public Libraries to run a cafe with them. And of course, we've got our car wash that provides service to Providence Care and some other fleets in the community, including the commissionaires. So we started off by talking about hope a little bit, and I think that there's a lot of hope for employers. The reality is that we operate 8 businesses and we employ solely people living with severe persistent mental illness. The only condition of employment at VOCEC is that you're diagnosed with a severe persistent mental illness. We talked about accommodations in the workplace, and the reality is that we make 75 accommodations every day. We turn a profit doing it, and we actually create a supportive work environment where people want to come, where people can recover, where people can find purpose, and where people can succeed. Dr. Malev also talked about, how many people in this room would feel comfortable going to work tomorrow and telling their employer, I had a really difficult time sleeping because of my suicidal thoughts. And I truly believe that if you asked a number of our business associates, and we refer to our Providence Care clients as business associates when they're working in the VOCEC program because they're not a client, they're an employee. And I do believe that, the majority of them would feel comfortable coming to work and telling you just that. And we would be there to support them. So I think that the hope is out there. I'd really like to thank everyone for spending some time in this beautiful spring afternoon talking about what's really, truly important to our community. I want to thank MPP Sophie Kiwala for putting this together and continuing this conversation. So thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.